Wow, that video got me pumped up to get out there and do some marketing. I'm Andrea Terrell, CEO of Sercante, and the founder of Spot for Pardot, and I'm excited to kick things off for our final keynote of ParDreamin. It's been an absolutely incredible week. We've had 41 sessions, 63 speakers from all over the world. We started today with a fast-paced, high-energy demo jam featuring Qualified.com, Form Assembly, Workato, Lean Data, Opinion, and Sercante Labs. We have dragons on dragons on dragons ready to ship to some lucky winners. And I can't think of a better way to close our day and close our conference than this awesome lineup of content that we have planned for you all. First, we're going to be hearing from Neha Shah and Meredith Brown from the Pardot team, talking about transforming your ABM strategy with the power of the platform. Next, we have a fireside chat with none other than Mike Costow, the GM of Pardot, and Adam Blitzer, who's the founder of Pardot, started back in 2006. He became the CEO of Marketing Cloud and is now the general manager of Salesforce Digital. And finally, to tie a bow on this event, we have some special announcements on key dates and things in 2021 to look forward to. So to get things started, I'd love to introduce Neha Shah. Hey, Neha.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. I am Neha Shah, and I lead Pardot product marketing team. I'm very excited to be here with all of you today. Andrea, first, I really want to congratulate you. What an amazing event ParDreamin has been. I, of course, learned a lot about Pardot, but one of my personal highlights from this week is learning about Build On's mission and the great work they are doing to build schools worldwide. And for folks attending this keynote, if you missed your chance to donate during the opening keynote, there's still time. Please go to buildon.org/give and donate. So I just shared my favorite moment from this week, but would love to know and hear what your favorite moment from ParDreamin has been. So please share and tell us that in live chat. And Andrea, since we have you here, would love to know yours too.
Yeah, I have to say mine was the demo jam. I mean, demo jams have been a staple of the Salesforce world for a long time, but the Pardot community, as far as we know, this is the first ever Pardot focused demo jam. And we had some amazing presentations from our sponsors.
That's incredible. Thanks so much, Andrea. Thanks for sharing that. And as we wrap up this incredible ParDreamin week, I would like to talk about how marketers like you and I can leverage ABM and the Salesforce platform to execute on two critical imperatives that we have, which is delivering exceptional customer experience and driving business growth. But before that, I want to say thank you. I want to thank all of you, our incredible Pardot community and our customers. You all inspire us every day with how you use our technology to transform your businesses. And I understand this may be a tough period for many businesses right now, so I really want to thank you for your time spent with us today. And also a huge shout out to Team Sercante for bringing us all together this week at ParDreamin. So coming into 2020, none of us knew that this is the year that marketing transformation would go from being visionary to mandatory. In fact, marketing transformation is no longer optional. The ongoing global pandemic has massively accelerated all the marketing initiatives. Plans that were set to take place over the course of years are now executed in months and weeks. Now, here's the thing. When we think of marketing transformation, it just doesn't mean transforming your businesses. It truly means transforming the relationship with your customer. It means scaling that relationship, modernizing it, and meeting them where they are, all with an empathetic approach. Because customers expect companies to understand their needs and expectations. However, the challenge is, as a marketer, you are competing with everyone that is trying to do the same things now, which is delivering on customer experience. And for this reason, almost all marketing leaders say customer experience is the key competitive differentiator. But delivering on both customer experience and growth is hard. Companies are often disconnected. They do not have a single view or single source of truth for their accounts or customers. And when you have disparate systems, I think if you just click, yep. And when you have disparate systems, that also poses even a greater challenge. It leads to data being siloed, teams are siloed, and layer that with like the legacy technology tools that you might have and combine that with like rapid pace of change. All of that makes delivering seamless customer experience very challenging. And if you thought it was hard before, it's even harder now, right? If there's anything that the global pandemic has taught us, it's that our customers' priorities and needs are changing rapidly. And we saw that in the opening keynote when Mike Costal highlighted that companies are pivoting and they are pivoting fast. Like some of our customers have changed their business models. They have changed their target verticals. We heard from Gail Moody-Bird, CMO of Noodle AI, of how her team pivoted to 100% ABM strategy to ensure alignment across the supply chain. So in these times, what are successful companies and marketers doing? Well, they are the ones that are able to keep up the pace with their customers and serve them no matter what their needs are. So we as marketers need to be responsive at every step, every process, every interaction to the changing business models. But think about it, if you had siloed data and teams before, collaboration across marketing and sales teams has even gotten harder with everyone working virtually. Also, the post-COVID world has resulted into tighter budgets and resources. So that begs the question, how can marketers drive demand in these demanding times? Well, marketers must focus on accounts to deliver on both customer experience and growth. And by that, I mean, understand every buyer within the account. All teams, be it marketing, sales, service, they must have a centralized view of their accounts and the key buyers within them. They must create a single source of truth rather than using disparate data sources to understand the engagement patterns. Secondly, align marketing, sales, and service teams. These teams must come together to coordinate personalized engagement, whether it is human engagement or digital engagement. And that should be done at every stage of the buyer journey. And finally, they must all align on joint metrics to grow account relationships over time. In an all digital era, marketers will double down on ABM because ABM is successful. Majority of the marketers, over 80% of the marketers, say that it improves win rate as well as helps improve customer lifetime value. And that is because ABM really allows marketers to create this single source of truth to personalize engagement across all the key buyers within the account. And that is exactly the reason why Salesforce created Salesforce Customer 360. It really, truly allows you to put your customers, your key buyers at the center of everything you do. And that way, your marketing, commerce, sales, service, analytics, anything you do is centered around their needs. But I think you all must be thinking, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for a marketer? Well, what we have done is we have taken the Customer 360 and tailored it for marketers with Marketing Cloud 360. Marketing Cloud 360, which is built on world's #1 CRM, allows you to adapt with agility to grow customer relationships, as well as revenue to drive growth. With Marketing Cloud 360, companies like InsideView are able to double down on ABM by aligning sales and marketing priorities and empowering their sales teams with real-time intelligence and target accounts. Secondly, it allows marketers and companies to meet customers where they are with personalized, relevant messages. And that's across all channels, be it email, mobile, web, social. And finally, it allows companies to go beyond marketing. To truly deliver those exceptional customer experiences, marketing needs to be connected with sales, service, and commerce. With that, I would like to invite on this virtual stage, Meredith Brown, VP and Head of Product for Salesforce Pardot, to showcase how marketers can bring technology and innovation together to drive marketing transformation and execute on ABM strategy.
Great, thank you, Neha. It's so great to be here with all of you today. What an incredible week. I know the highlight for me was probably the roadmap session yesterday, because I was following along in the chat and I just love seeing all the enthusiasm for the features that we're bringing to Pardot customers. And thank you for the support that you've given our team along the way. I lead up the product management team for Pardot, and so this particular event is really near and dear to my heart. But today we're going to talk about ABM and how it's become the cornerstone of B2B marketing. We know that more than 90% of B2B marketers have an ABM strategy. So you probably are thinking about ABM or you're executing on an ABM strategy already. And many teams are turning to ABM because they want to build empathy and they want to engage with their most important accounts. And we see marketing and sales teams, they're working together to use this account-specific knowledge to deliver customer-obsessed experiences. And nowadays, there's just so much data that you can use if you need to figure out which accounts to select, how you're going to personalize to those accounts, what that engagement orchestration is going to look like, and ultimately the insights that you need to run your business. Everything that you know about your customer comes from marketing, it comes from sales, service, and these interactions are playing a huge role in helping you better understand your customers and what they need. So you need to know who they are, what they're interested in, and how you can help them. And a really good ABM strategy is going to take advantage of all of these different signals that you have to deliver personalized, contextual experiences to your customers. So everything that you know about your customers is not only from data, but it's also what you know about them as human beings. Not only from these marketing programs that you're running, but what about all of those external signals that are out there that are helping you learn about their needs and meeting them with that real-time, personalized, contextual engagement. And oftentimes you're using personalization, you're using automation, you're using AI. And as customers navigate this new world, this post-COVID pandemic world, this personalized engagement has never been more important. So this is why it's really important that we meet customers where they are. Now, I'm sure many of you are trying to find that ParDreamin. You're on your social networks, you're chatting, you're doing it right here in this event. You're chatting, you're posting, you're really trying to find that dragon, right? Well, guess what? Your buyers are spending time on social networks as well. Advertising Studio is a solution that can help you reach your customers. You can reach them across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google. And every time we serve up brand messages, we want them to be on point, we want them to be relevant and personalized. And a great place to start is with a really solid content management strategy. You might not be aware, but Salesforce has a CMS and it can help you. So when your customer hits your website, they're going to expect a personalized experience. They want it to be personalized for the industry that they care about, the products that they're interested in, and ultimately the business pain points that they're looking to solve. Interaction Studio is a new solution. It's formerly known as Evergage, and that's a solution that can help you get there. And what about email? Shouldn't every message that ends up in your customer's inbox be relevant, timely, personalized? That's where Pardot can come in and the power of B2B marketing automation. But the thing is we need to remember that ABM goes beyond marketing, and Neha referenced this earlier. It's really what we like to think about as an account-based engagement strategy. So let's just map out a very simple journey. Your prospect has hit this personalized website. Your marketing team has done a bang-up job making sure that it's relevant for anyone who hits the website. But we don't want the journey to end there. We want to turn them into qualified leads. We want to nurture them into customers that ultimately place an order on your B2B commerce site. At this point, your sales team is going to get involved, and hopefully they're guiding the customer towards the best solution. Now, every interaction that's happening along the way is an insight. We want your customer to feel supported. We want them to feel valued. And the thing is that the marketing and sales teams are coming together. They're jointly obsessing on how we're going to pursue these accounts, how we're going to establish and ultimately grow those long-term relationships. So, question for you. What if you could empower your marketing and sales teams with data about the service engagements and your service teams about sales and marketing engagement? Now, this is an account-based engagement strategy, and this is what's going to help your teams all work together to build those long-term relationships that are ultimately going to drive that sustainable growth. So Neha mentioned Inside View. Inside View is a Pardot customer. So let's take an example of how they're using Pardot and several marketing cloud products to do ABM. First, they're using analytics to help them target the right accounts. Now, there's lots of different data points out there, and we can pull them in from marketing, sales, service. We want to understand if these accounts are going to be a good fit for the business, and we want to take advantage of any emerging engagement signals. Now, once we have a good sense of the accounts that we're going to go after, they're using Pardot's Engagement Studio. That's helping them orchestrate the buying journey and bringing in sales at just the right time. They're able to build out engaging email and landing page content. They're doing that with Pardot. That's making sure that every step in that Engagement Studio program is matched with relevant, personalized, and timely content. Now, you want to make sure that all of these insights are fed back into your sales team, and they're working in their CRM, right? So right there in that account record, we're going to help them understand these engagement patterns. We're going to help them understand what's happening with their strategic accounts, the decision makers, and those buying groups within those accounts. Now, for example, the sales reps are going to get a deep understanding of all of the campaigns that their customers are part of, including the content they're consuming. They can use all of this insight to help guide them, to help really understand what their customer needs are. And at the end of the day, the inside sales marketing team, they know which channels are most effective, what's working for these accounts, because they're taking advantage of Einstein attribution. Einstein attribution is an AI-driven attribution model that allocates conversion to multiple campaigns. So they can clearly see how their marketing dollars are being used and which campaigns are most effective at driving this pipeline. So now that you have a good flavor of how you can do ABM or account-based engagement on the Salesforce platform, I'd like to turn things over to Adam Blitzer, our EVP and GM of Salesforce Digital, and Mike Costow, SVP and GM of Pardot. They're going to share their vision for Salesforce's Digital 360 and their thoughts on digital transformation, Pardot, and of course, account-based marketing.
Awesome. So great to be here at ParDreamin. And I am super excited to be joined today by the great, great, great grandfather of marketing automation, Adam Blitzer. Adam, how are you?
Thanks a lot, Mike. I have heard Godfather before. I have heard grandfather. I have probably even heard great-grandfather, but that may be the first great-great-grandfather. But thanks for putting me in my place. Awesome to be with so many marketers, so many B2B marketers today, and really appreciate you all for having us.
Well, Adam, on behalf of the ParDreamin event and all the marketers who are here today, it's great to have you participate and hear your perspective as someone who's been in the industry for a very, very, very long time. But there may be some people who are joining the event who may not know you. So maybe before we jump into our fireside chat, maybe you just want to do a quick introduction and share your background with the group.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Well, think back to 2007, a younger, better looking version of me with flowing locks was thinking about B2B marketing and how do you solve problems in this space. And I caught up with a good friend of mine from Duke, David Cummings, and we decided to co-found a product in the B2B marketing arena. And our first idea was absolutely terrible. We built a lead generation website for B2B. If you were looking for different kinds of software, you put in the type of software you wanted, what you needed it to do, roughly what your budget was, what your time frame was, and you would hit go. and then we would match you up with the right kind of software. So it was almost like a sort of a virtual RFP. But of course, in the background, we would sell you as a lead to those different vendors. And we quickly realized, wow, this is going to take a long time to generate enough leads to be interesting to companies. You can't go to a company, for example, like Salesforce and say, hey, I've got 6 leads for you, right? It just doesn't scale. And so we said, why don't we take the system we built to generate these leads and to distribute the leads and just sell that as software? And it turns out there were already a couple of companies doing this, and it was a really cottage industry at the time. And it wasn't called marketing automation back then. It was probably called demand generation. Then the name kind of changed to lead management and revenue performance management, and then back to marketing automation. But that was sort of the early days of it. So we spent about 3 months, we spent about a month and a half on that idea. Then we pivoted into what became a software company, and that's what became Pardot. So March 2007 is when we started the company, and it's been a pretty fun, epic ride since then.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm still fixated on going back and imagining you with hair. The story after 2007 is pretty interesting as well. Would love for you to share, what happened with Pardot through multiple acquisitions, and obviously how you got to where you are at Salesforce today.
Yeah, I'm wearing a very vintage Pardot t-shirt. So you can see this was the old logo. This is what you get for $150 on logobee.com in 2013. But 5 years after we founded the company, we built the company organically. We were probably at about 150 employees and maybe 12 million in revenue. We sold the company to a larger digital marketing company, and a digital marketing company that was a little more B2C focused. Obviously, Pardot was very B2B focused, called ExactTarget. And ExactTarget was newly public. We sold the company to ExactTarget and became a really good combination. One of the big reasons for wanting to pair up with a bigger company was that, we wondered what would happen if Salesforce got into the space, right? Would it cut our value in half? Well, it turns out Salesforce was interested in getting into the space because just a few months after we joined ExactTarget, Salesforce wound up taking a look. And we ultimately wound up selling both companies to Salesforce roughly 10 months later. So from 2012 to 2013, we were mostly working on that deal, joined Salesforce. ExactTarget really became the underpinnings of the marketing cloud, very B2C focused. Pardot initially became part of the sales cloud, very B2B focused. And of course, there's been lots of growth for both product portfolios since then. And now we've put it all together under one marketing cloud. ExactTarget is still there, really as our messaging and journeys set of applications. Pardot is there, and a whole host of applications. Everything that a CMO needs to run their business is in one place.
And over time, you've played a number of roles at Salesforce. You were running Pardot, you've run Sales Cloud, you've run Service Cloud, you've run Marketing Cloud, and now you're running Digital. Would you mind just sharing for everyone who's listening in what Salesforce Digital 360 is and what it means to our customers?
Sure. So, Salesforce has had a massive marketing business for a long time. We've acquired lots of very good assets in marketing. We also have a very big commerce business or e-commerce business and a very large digital experiences business. But one of the things that happens, when a company gets to a certain size is you eventually start to project your org chart on your customers. And many of you in the audience are our customers. You've probably felt this, right? Where we go to market and we talk to you about product by product by product. Like, hey, today we're going to talk to you about Marketing Cloud. Tomorrow we're going to talk to you about Service Cloud. And you're thinking, I don't really care about your clouds. I care about, solutions, right? I care about
solving problems.
That I need to solve.
Yep.
Exactly. And that phenomenon, that's called Conway's Law. And if you can't push back on Conway's Law, it's a law, right? All you can do is change your org chart to get the outcome you want. So what we did is we said, hey, what does a chief digital officer, chief marketing officer really care about? Well, typically they're thinking about the entire end-to-end digital experience. So they're really thinking about their marketing, their commerce, their digital experiences. So we put those 3 product areas together and rolled them up, and I get to run that group. And so that really lets us think more about integrated experiences across those. It also lets us tell a much more cohesive narrative not at the all Salesforce altitude, which is when we talk about the entire customer 360, not at that product altitude, but somewhere in between, where we talk about a digital journey. Of course, these products still need to work with Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, et cetera, but we really want to think about that digital arc.
And I know that digital narrative is incredibly relevant today as we talk to customers. You and I do it all the time. They're really focused on digital transformation. What are you hearing now, especially from marketers, as they think about digital transformation, both within and coming out of the pandemic?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing, and it's almost trite at this point a little bit, is just the amount of digital transformation that's being crammed into such a short window. And, we've heard CEOs of Fortune 500 companies say, 5 years of digital transformation was crammed into 5 months. You could take sort of any number of years and any number of months, and it still, no matter what, it seems to make sense. And what was interesting is in Q1 of this year, businesses were not moving, right? Businesses were not taking chances. They were not taking risks. They were just all wondering what the heck was happening. And I think a lot of us sort of expected that to carry into Q2. We sort of predicted that, hey, in Q2, companies are going to realize what's happening, and they're going to be even more freaked out. But what was interesting is actually the opposite happened. Companies realized what was happening, but they also realized we're going to be in this for a long time, and we can't just stay paralyzed, right? We have to act. And so companies not only acted, they acted more decisively. And they said, let's not waste a crisis, right? Let's use the crisis to reinvent ourselves. And you see this happening all across the board. You see it happening in commerce, for example. If you think of, B2B commerce or in the B2C world, this idea of, curbside pickup, which used to be sort of a nice to have, it became a have to have, right? You weren't going into stores, when things are in lockdown. All of a sudden, these companies that were disintermediated from their customers, they were just selling through retailers and distributors. All of a sudden, they had to be direct to consumer. They had no other channel because those distributors were closed or they were prioritizing essential goods. So you just saw a lot of changes happening. You saw the same thing happening in digital marketing, right? Companies had no other way to get in touch with their customers, and all of a sudden had to amp up digital in a way that they didn't before. They had to try new channels. They had to be everywhere that their customer was. It was interesting, talking to companies who said things like, hey, for the first time in our company's history, we're not doing print. Right? I'm thinking about one of the biggest department stores, in the country. But literally, this is the first week in our company's history we haven't done print, right? Because why would we right now? But everything moved to digital. And as we come out of this, because we will come out of this at some point, a significant amount of this is going to be enduring. Not everything, but a significant amount on both sides. On the consumer side, right, our kind of patterns and whatnot have changed forever. If I think about like the B2C world, we probably are now more exposed to ordering different kinds of things online, having more digital experiences, and we're okay with it in a way that maybe we weren't before. But also in the B2B world, right, we're much more accustomed to working from home, right? Mike, you and I, we tend to go to the office every day. I never worked from home. But now, do I want to go back to the office? Yes, because I have a lot of dad jokes that I need to share with everybody. But I'm going to be much more comfortable spending a couple days a week at home in a way that I wouldn't have been before. And I think so many companies had in their minds this myth that people are less productive working from home. And you know what? Business has kept moving pretty well for the past few quarters. And I think companies are going to be a lot more comfortable with it. So on the B2B side, things changing there as well.
Yeah, and look, those dad jokes resonate just as well over Zoom as they do in person. Especially when you've heard the vast majority of them over the past couple of years.
Perfect. Sometimes better. Yeah.
So what do you see for marketers, now that we're, knock on wood, in the third or fourth quarter of the pandemic as we come out of it? What do you think is most important to them over the next year and a half? What's really top of mind for marketers?
Yeah, I think, when I think of the two things that come up most often, speaking to marketers, both in B2B and B2C, it's data. It's getting at the heart of their data and really getting to, how do you have one kind of single source of truth around your customers? And, we've been talking, we in kind of sales and marketing world have been talking about a customer 360 for 20 years, right? I was like 6 years old when we started talking about it. But now it's actually becoming possible because data lakes are becoming more and more commoditized. You can build software layers on top of them. And so you see all the big MarTech vendors and lots of startups attacking this problem of the customer profile and getting to this sort of golden record. So, if there's a version of Mike Costow that's in Pardot and in Sales Cloud and, maybe in an ABM system, it could collapse all of these records into one view of you for rich segmentation and activation out to a marketing channel. So data is one, it's complex, but it's becoming much more possible than it used to be.
Yep.
The second one is personalization. And every MarTech system does personalization, right? It's sort of table stakes for a piece of marketing technology. The problem is they all work slightly differently and they all work off different bits of data. So your email marketing system has a little bit of data, your website has a little bit of data, your A/B testing platform has a little bit of data. And so you're probably seeing a slightly different offer depending on what channel you're coming through. And that's not intentional by the marketer. It's just sort of the best they can do. And so I think a lot of marketers are really looking for omni-channel personalization so that, or you can think of it as a headless personalization. So there's just kind of this personalization engine running in the background, paired up with that data platform. You're always seeing the right thing no matter where you are. With MarTech, when we founded Pardot in 2007, there were 150 logos, I think, on Scott Brinker's MarTech 5000 slide. And MarTech 5000 doesn't even keep up with how many logos there are because there are 8,000 logos now. And so you can't predict which areas of MarTech will become more or less important over time. You can only predict there will be more areas of MarTech over time because MarTech is sort of always chasing the prospect. And so if you can't predict where MarTech is going, you can say, and if you're all watching or binging Queen's Gambit like I am, if you think of chess, you want to control the center of the board. And so how do you control the center of the board in that Scott Brinker, MarTech 5000 slide? You have a good data strategy, you have a good personalization strategy, and then no matter where MarTech goes, what's part of your stack, those things flow really nicely into them.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute about Pardot, and I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. I know you built a great and really strong culture within Pardot that continues on to this day, and I'm really grateful to have all these great Pardashians who are listening into this fireside chat. I'd love to hear your perspective on Pardot. What is most interesting and exciting that you've seen coming out of Pardot over the course of, say, the last year? And what are you most interested in and excited about for the future as it relates to Pardot?
Well, first, as you said it, I think the thing that makes it special is the culture and the values, and that extends way beyond the people that work on the business, right? That extends to all of the users and administrators, all the partners, everybody in the ecosystem. There's so much amazing enthusiasm around it. I remember, again, when like B2B marketing barely existed, right? It certainly wasn't fun. Back in 2007 and before, there wasn't this groundswell of interest and excitement around B2B marketing, and it's a very different world now, and it is absolutely awesome. When I think about the most exciting parts of Pardot to me now, it's probably almost in two different directions. So I think one is Pardot's kind of increasing enterprisiness, if that's a word, or push into the enterprise.
It's not really a word, but we'll let you run with that.
Yeah, occasionally you can have a license to make one up. But the increasing sophistication needs of B2B marketers and the ability of Pardot to meet that. When you think about things like sandboxes, when you think about being able to do deep cloning of assets and campaigns, all those sorts of things really enable marketers to be, one, do things with more sophistication, also feel more secure about the changes they're making before they actually push something into production. And then they also just make things, a lot more sustainable. so they're not sort of recreating the wheel every time they create a new campaign. And obviously, certainly Pardot's roots were in SMB and then mid-market, and then since it's come up into the enterprise, so that's been fun to see. I think on the other side, it's the continued coming together of the Salesforce platform and Pardot. Integrations are hard, right? The vast majority of companies, when they get acquired, do zero integration with the acquirer or vice versa, right? Unless they sort of get shut down completely and rebuilt. A true integration is really, really hard because both businesses are going fast. Typically, they're growing, the markets are changing. And so I'm really excited about all the work that has gone on to bring pieces of marketing into the core platform. And so if we think, about much of the recent functionality, and I mentioned some of it, those are all built on top of the Salesforce platform. But then also a pretty tangible example is the new email editor. So taking something that is so core to marketing, but rebuilding it on top of the Salesforce platform. Now, in the beginning, you might see like, what does this get me? It's an email editor, right? Well, it gets you a better email editor. But ultimately, when you think about what Salesforce is good at, it's good at extensibility, it's good at plugging in partners, it's good at workflow and things like that. So eventually, things that are built on the platform start to inherit all of these in a way that you never could when you're totally separate. So I think, on the one hand, the enterprise piece, on the other hand, the coming together with the core platform, those two things are probably the most exciting for me. I'm also excited that we have a Peloton group for Pardot. The hashtag, if you are a Peloton user, is #KeepPardotWeird.
I love it. Do you want to also give up your handle for everyone so that they can follow you on Peloton?
Yeah, I am Judo Jew on Peloton, so please give me a follow.
That's great. Well, I can't think of a better way to close it than for everybody to log off and look up Adam's scores on Peloton. It's a perfect ending to this fireside chat. So Adam, on behalf of the extended Pardot community and Andrea and team, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to spend with us today. And with that, Andrea, I'm going to send it back to you.
Wow, what an awesome lineup of content. Meredith and Neha, thank you so much. Adam and Mike, thank you so much. This is a great way to wrap up our final session of ParDreamin. I have a few quick final announcements that I want to walk through, but it's kind of bittersweet to be wrapping this up. I wish we could keep this going for days. But so the number one question that we've gotten throughout the conference is, how can we access recordings? The good news is that this platform will be live for the next 30 days. So you can come right back here, click into the sessions and keynotes tabs, and there's a little toggle on top that says show past sessions, and all of the recordings are live there. The one exception is the product keynote, or the product roadmap, sorry. That one we were not allowed to record, but everything else is live or will be live shortly to dive into. Mohammed commented in the chat that having 3 sessions running simultaneously, there's a lot that you miss, but fortunately we have some time to check out some of those other sessions. Another question and request that we got several times throughout the week was on day 1 of ParDreamin on Tuesday, we had a series of paid pre-conference workshops, 5 topics: scoring and grading, campaigns and ROI, Pardot basics, Pardot API, and then essentials of Salesforce reports and dashboards. We got a lot of requests for scheduling those again, staggering them a little bit so that people could take advantage of all of that content and not just have to pick one. So we have just posted a lineup of workshops for January and February to Sercante.com. We've also added time zone friendly options. So one that's in the afternoon for the US, one that's in the afternoon for the UK, and then one for our friends in APAC so that they don't have to wake up at very odd hours to take advantage of this Pardot content. There's also a discount code, ParDreamin, for 20% off any of those courses. And speaking of ParDreamin, if you've been following along on Twitter, seeing all the videos of the ParDreamin in many different parts of the world, we will be announcing winners on Monday. So visit that link that's on the screen here if you'd like to still participate. Last item I wanted to throw out there, we will be sending a post-event survey. Your feedback is super important to us. We want to do this again in 2021. And we want your feedback on how to make it even bigger and better than it was this year. So as an added incentive to fill that out, we're producing ParDreamin holographic stickers that we will be mailing to anybody who takes the time to fill out that survey. So thank you all. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy days, busy schedules to make time for your own learning and for making this a community that we can all love and be a part of. Really appreciate all of our sponsors, really appreciate the Sercante team for the work that went into producing this event. And I'll see you all on Twitter.
If you're working from home, whether near or far, we've the perfect sessions no matter who you are. You can watch them live or watch them later on demand. We'll see you soon, our all digital work from anywhere